I did all kind of jobs, loading people's cars, doing Sunday security jobs, cleaning toilets. It was a mountain of roller coaster after roller coaster after roller coaster. 2011, just got fed up. I said, you know what, I've got to come back to my home country, man. I lost equivalent of over 150,000 pounds. I was going through depression. My journey into real estate came from the losses I had had. There are 4 phases of business. First, you start, then you grow, then you scale, then you thrive. Businesses in Nigeria don't actually go through the growth phases. Either you start and you grow and you stay in growth, you're stagnated, or you start and all of a sudden you explode. If you're serious about being an entrepreneur, there's 2 things you must do. You must do everything possible right now to have multiple nationality. That's 1. 2.
Welcome, Dr. Daniel. How are you doing today?
Oh, thank you so much for having me on your studios. Very, very lovely place. Actually, this is the first time I'm having a podcast interview.
Really?
In Nigeria.
In Nigeria?
So, yes.
Okay, I'm happy to be the first, and I'm hoping many more will come because I actually love the work that you're doing.
Yep.
In investment education, property education, wealth building. I think you've actually built a very interesting and exciting brand, really. And the method at which you go about yours is really, permit me to say, no bullshit, straight to the point. You tell it as it is.
Yes.
You know, and I really love that about your brand. But I mean, for people who are just joining and getting to know you, who is Dr. Daniel Moses? What's your journey like? Now we see you, I mean, having over your successes all over the UK and around Africa to, you know, all around the world. We are hearing reports about you in USA Today, USA Reporter. I mean, great things, right? But what has been your journey?
Well, it's been a journey of roller coaster. You know, it's been a mountain of roller coaster after roller coaster after roller coaster. I've lived in the United Kingdom now for 20 years.
Really?
And I've been married to my very, very lovely wife. I love to call her my business partner, my ride or die, my chick. And also my side chick.
The side chick. Okay. So she's the main chick and the side chick.
Yeah, so she's the main chick and the side chick.
All right.
You know, we've been married for 18 years.
18?
Yes, we've been married for 18 years. I've got 2 lovely kids. My first son is 16 now, and my daughter is 13. 2 lovely, amazing kids, a boy and a girl. All before that, you know, many years ago, I just wanted to leave Nigeria because I went to school. I went to University of Benin. I'm originally born and bred from Benin, Edo State. I grew up there. I lived all of my life. I mean, I lived half of my life there, you know. And the very first time I traveled abroad was when I actually got out to actually relocate. And you say, you know
what year was
the jackpot of
okay.
Now.
What year was this?
This was way back in late 2003.
2003, yeah.
Yeah, so late 2003, and that's when the whole journey began. Going to United Kingdom, had no brother, no sister, no auntie, no uncle. I only knew mutual people, you know, so I only knew mutual friends through someone. So, for example, a friend of a friend's sister. You know how we are in Nigeria. So if you grew up in a particular small community, your friend's sister becomes your sister.
Your sister, yes.
Exactly. Your friend's uncle becomes your uncle.
Your uncle, yeah.
So that was the only kind of people I knew. So I only knew 3 people, and I left for the United Kingdom at that time. Visited, came back, renewed, came back. You know.
What were you doing then? Were you done with your university?
No, yes, I was at final year, you know, at that time. So I studied sociology and anthropology, so I was in my, you know, final year. So I first went, then came back, spent a couple of months there, then came back, saw it, you know, and completely in, you know, around about 2005. I decided to, you know what, I had a reason to stay because I met my wife at that time.
Oh, really?
Yeah, so I met my wife way back in 2005. You know, she's from Uganda, East Africa.
East Africa.
And we met, you know, with the Nigerian vibe. You know, Nigeria now.
We have energy.
You know, when you see people you like, you say, pss, pss, you know, those days. Remember those days I used to do, pss, pss, you say, let me spin. So that's how we started. Met her in the bus. I wrote, the little bit of a story of how we met in my book, The Test, Transitioning from the Ordinary to the Extraordinary.
Yeah.
So we met, and she gave me the reason to stay in the country. We fell in love. Within 6 months, we got married. And that came in its own explosion of criticism because people was like, you marry her for paper now. Sharp guy.
Oh, really?
You marry for paper.
I mean, 18 years after, are they still saying?
Exactly.
Yeah.
So, and yeah, that's what people said. Even our own people too had their own version of their side as well, saying that this Nigerian guy. There's this thing about this Nigerian guy, Nigerian woman, Nigerian people, internationally. You almost have to always prove yourself.
Across Africa.
Across Africa, there's this thing about, he's Nigerian. There's the intentions are not genuine.
Yeah.
And this is one of the reasons why I'm passionate about what I do today, because I hope by the grace of God Almighty that I'm able to write my name in history books, that the people will say, regardless of what this human have been through, but he has now come a long way where, he has integrity. And by the grace of God, we've been able to maintain that. So, yeah, I met my wife. We got married very, very quick. And very quick, we bought our own house. And what I was doing at that time was, before we actually got married, I did all kind of jobs. From doing cleaning toilets, in the UK, to loading people's cars when they buy stuff in Peckham, doing Sunday security jobs, because when we went to abroad, that's how it's called at that time. Let me be very original. Let me be original. So we went as in, I did go abroad. Anything when I see, I go take them.
Yeah.
It's not like a lot of people that are going abroad now to say, I'm going through student routes, I want to study and all of these things. And again, whether you like it or not, the time we went to London, 20 years now, people who went to go to school and people who went to just find greener pasture, there's always that imbalance of how we look at each other as well.
Yeah.
Those that have money to go to school, and there's just that imbalance of, I'm going to school like I'm the elite, the Ajay and Ajekpako. Does that make sense? Yeah. Ajay versus Ajekpako.
So there was still that social divide.
Yes, that social divide where the crew that I came to meet in London, some people within interrelationship or interconnectivity, some were going to school, we were not, so we had to do anything that we had to do to survive. And cut long story short, when I met my wife, that gave me sort of redirection. And as at that time, I had started, because before that, way back in university, I used to sell anything. I would sell cars, I would sell clothes, I would sell anything sellable. So I was a sales guy. And so I remembered, my elder brothers, family relatives, they would bring things into Nigeria, from Japan to sell. So I'm the anchor guy. I'm the guy that will sell it and make my profit. So I was making good money way back. So I remember that this was what I used to do. So very quickly I will drive, I will find a way around the whole of London. When your fridge spoil in London, nobody fixes it. They throw it out and, you see it outside. Yeah. When television spoil, you see it outside, you pick. So I will pick all these things. I will buy 406. I will load them inside the 406 and ship them to Nigeria. Very quickly, I started buying cars, breaking them into spare parts, shipping them to Nigeria.
Whoa.
I would ship them to Ladipo in Lagos. So, and that, started giving me momentum. And made some money there. Myself and my wife then put some funds together. We bought our first property to live in. Okay. Because when I met my wife, she already owned a flat, one small bedroom flat. And the moment we got married, I said, we're going to have children. This one bedroom flat. Nigeria, our houses are big. Yeah. In London, when you see a house of £200,000, you will say, they swear for you. Yeah. So very quickly, we bought our house. We moved into a 3-bedroom semi-detached property, and life was good. So, and very quickly, she got pregnant. 2 years later, we conceived our first child. And, we just went through that whole journey of settling down gradually. Then,
but what industry were you in throughout this period?
I was not in any industry. I was just doing anything to make ends meet. I was just hustling. I would, like I said, I would buy cars, I would break them. That's me hustling. I pick things off the street, load them up in a van. That's me hustling. I would buy TM Louis, Horse and Curtis when I'm traveling back to Nigeria to come and sell. That's me hustling. I wasn't doing anything. I was just making money. And cut long story short, the next business I then did from that was opening up an internet cafe
In the UK?
in the UK. So internet cafe, now that we have smartphones. So I had an internet cafe, and from there, I just felt like, obviously, I shared more details in my book about this in chapter number 1 to chapter number 2. Chapter number 1 is called Push Through Your Pain, and chapter number 2 was The Other Side of Pain. So where I kind of shared a bit of this month's story there. So I will move these things back to Nigeria, but 2011 actually, about 2011, I just got fed up. I said, I've got to come back to my home country, man. I need to do something. I don't want to keep selling this, selling that, just trying to make money. I need to have an industry where I'm in. So I started talking to a few people here and there, and I came to Nigeria. I started oil and gas and logistics. And from oil and gas logistics, bought a few trucks because I had sold my business in London. Came back, bought trucks, moved products from here and there. Again, nobody taught me business. This is just me hustling.
Really? You just went in?
I just went in. I met a few people that told me, yeah, you do them like this, do them like that. Nigeria now.
Yeah.
You just do them like that. You just buy the truck. You go this place. They go build the tank for you. You fish start from 30,000 liters. 33,000, from 33 to 36 to 60-something, 65, So, and that's just how, I started. A lot of challenges around the way, obviously. If we are to go deep into this conversation, we'll be here till tomorrow. So I highly recommend everyone to go and grab my book called The Test: Transition from the Ordinary. If you actually go on my Instagram handle, you click on Get the Book, you can actually download the book completely for free without actually buying it. So I shared those kind of stories of how the beginning of my life as an entrepreneur really started. But it was a mountain of roller coaster after roller coaster after roller coaster. When I got to Nigeria, the oil and gas business, we grew very quickly from 2011, 12, 13, 14 to increasing our fleets, moving multiple different types of products at the downstream.
So you're at a point where you were happy and
I was making,
it was beginning to make sense.
Yeah, things was beginning to make sense. I was connecting with the right people here in Nigeria. I was, meeting people, were doing good business. Then I now move one step ahead where I will now buy the product. Okay, I will supply to some of these independent marketers that didn't have money to buy products. So imagine it's cost me, for example, 2 naira. I will now supply to them and charge them 4 naira. So they'll have like a month to sell it. So when they sell the products, I will add my own on top, and it gives me more profit. The transportation, I've made profit there. Even though I didn't own the petrol station, it's my product that they're selling. So I'm making 2 naira extra. So it was good money, to the point where by 2014, I brought my wife, my kids to Nigeria. My kids loved it. My son was like, for the fact that he can go and buy sweets, because my mom will live in Teddy Secular Road. For the fact that my son can leave the gate, nobody restricting him to go and buy sweets, he loved that. And he loved the fact that he could sit in the back of the car. Daddy wasn't driving, daddy was sitting in the back. The luxury that Nigerian really offers.
Yeah.
So everybody, he loved it. My wife loved it. My daughter loved it. So the goal is now, okay, how can we do this a bit more? And in 2015, what we thought, that it's now working between just about less than 4 years was working. To my greatest surprise, I returned back to England one time. I was just in my own and relaxing with my wife, only to receive a phone call from one of my drivers. That's Oga, Bobs. Wahala do. What's happened now? Oga, Wahala. He's shouting, he's crying.
What happened?
Only to be told that 2 of my trucks had an accident.
How do you mean by 2 of your trucks had an accident?
Some people that were close to me said, "Now people for your Papa village, do you?"
Like 2 of your trucks
They collided, they somersaulted and went into flames. But there was foul plays here and there. But this is Nigeria, anything can happen.
Yeah.
So there was foul plays here and there. I lost equivalent of over 150,000 pounds.
150,000.
Over 150,000 pounds. This was, almost 8 years now.
Yeah.
So at this point in time, I got frustrated. I had anxiety. I was going through depression. I was owing money as well as it wasn't just that I lost 150,000 pounds. It was what comes with it. I had overdraft facility with the bank. I had credit card with Diamond Bank. I had also taken money from one or two places, people who believed in the vision. Going all of that, England does not stop. You have to pay your mortgage, you have to pay your council tax, you have to pay your electricity bill, you have to pay your water bill, you have to run your house. Like, I laugh when I see Nigerians sometimes, they say, oh yeah, my rent, 2 million, 3 million naira. That's nothing, right? No disrespect to England. England, you pay monthly.
Yeah.
Why do you think they say people in London are broke? One. Two, why do you think they say people in London are stingy? Two, why do you think they say all these things? Because we run our life every single day. Your job that you have, you are being paid per hour. So we take things it's very serious. There is very serious. Nobody has your time. Everybody's like, we're on the watch.
Clock, yeah.
Nobody will call you in the afternoon and say, let's gist now. You don't get work. So, call long story short, I went through all of that, madness. It was really hard. Then I said, you know what? I needed a break. Maybe this entrepreneurial thing wasn't really for me. So I was like, I don't come jammed. I don't marry. I don't born. How do I, all my life it's just like I'm trying to sell something. I'm trying to just make ends meet. What do I do? Let me just quit this entrepreneurial thing. I did quit. Actually
Really?
quitted. Yeah, because I quitted because I was going through depression.
Oh.
I was on the highest dose of antidepressants. For 2 years for 2 years I would probably slept for maybe less than an hour a night. I couldn't start. I was going through depression. I was suffering insomnia at the same time.
Oh my.
A few times, I was losing my mind.
Oh my.
I don't like talking about the story. I think probably let's move on because anytime I go deep into it, it gets a bit
Emotional.
But the thing is, today, looking back, all of these things, I think God
How do you think that moment shaped you?
I think it drew me closer to God.
What character do you think it bettered in you?
It made me stronger. It made me a strong person. It made me a person of faith. It made me a man of prayer. Before that, I would believe a pastor have to pray for me. I believe, I have to pray, go to church, pray, pastor have to lay hands on me for me to have, breakthrough or healing or all these things. But it drew me to a place where, I said I had to talk to God myself. I felt like the whole world was against me. I just felt everything was just against me. To a point where people that knew me very closely say, how about this? Even my own mother, bless her, she's 87 now. The point she said, even if, who'd be this way they worry for your papa village? It was terrible. It was just terrible. But one of the things I've come to realize that tough time, they say, don't last, right? Tough people do. And that word is absolutely true. When you ask God for blessings, when you know you're going somewhere, God will not give you blessing. God will give you problems first. If it is through the problems that He's, creating you. It's the issue I faced, and I dabbled into a story where I was listening. Otedola lost over $1 billion, and he was suicidal. But today, look at how far. So it's almost
on Instagram.
So you can. So we didn't know these things because let's be honest. Until 2017, late 2016, when I started learning about, learning about people, someone mentoring me in business. When you go to Harvard and you learn business, and when you come to the real field of business, it's two different things. When you find someone who has been successful in business, teaching you how to run their business, okay, it's the most thriving, wisdom you will ever learn. If you not add academics to it, trust me, then you explode. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So for me, there was a lot of things that I didn't know about business. But it's like the guy recharge card, that's selling a recharge card on the street, he's a businessman, he's an entrepreneur. From there, he can supply you water in here. He's an entrepreneur. So Nigerians were very entrepreneurial. this your office is so amazing. You took me around to your real estate department, your media department. Let me ask you a question. Which school did you go and learn media? Which school did you go and learn about real estate? But you just dabbled into it, and you self-taught yourself. You learned, and that is the norm of an entrepreneur. And part of the reason why I became very passionate in coaching people and mentorship, in mentoring people, the Igbos did this very perfectly well. When you're a rich man, when you're very wealthy, all right, you have children that you will send to the wealthy uncle. They will go and serve that uncle for a minimum of 5 to 10 years. And when they graduate, the uncle will say to them and establish the same business for them. Why do you think the Igbos are very successful in business? Because for 10 years, they learned all the intricacies from their uncles, their brother, and they had freedom. But the Igbo has the most interesting business, strategies because of that thing they do naturally. But, other entrepreneurs from different ethnic, background in Nigeria, we need to emulate the Igbos a lot. Because they learn practically. Is it real estate? They already have someone that you can learn so many things from. So you will not be given until you have learned. Once you have learned, you'll be given, and then you grow it. So these are the mistakes that I made. So first, yes, I lost a lot of money in oil and gas, but yes, there was errors there. I had insurance policy. My insurance policy had expired. I didn't know how to follow up. I didn't know how to micromanage. I was just doing my thing. And I lost that money. So all these things I did not learn. So when I went through that depression, it was like God rewriting my life. God reshaping my life. Himself. And no word of a lie, I encountered him one-to-one. One-to-one. Not through a pastor, not through anybody. But I encountered him. It was after I encountered him that people talk to me. I would now be able to discern, okay, it's in line with what, of the encounter that I have. So my point is that it was tough, and I learned to be the greatest version of myself. And I think in life, once you learn to become the greatest version of yourself, the rest is history.
So how did you begin your journey into real estate?
My journey into real estate came from, like I said, it came from the losses I had. At some point in my life, I didn't want to live in Nigeria anymore when I had that loss, I didn't want to live in Nigeria anymore. So went back when I was, like I said, I started driving Uber. So I remember one day I was just driving. I had dropped somebody early in the morning, hours of because I was driving at least 18 hours a day.
You're driving Uber in the UK?
Yes, in the UK. I was driving Uber in the UK. I was driving a minimum of 18 hours a day. So I was tired, so I fell asleep on the wheels. I was almost crashing my car. My car was almost going to the bush. I woke up, and as I woke up, I heard it very clear. You need rest. You just find the next petrol station and sleep. So I pulled into the next petrol station. I was sleeping. I had a nap. Inside that nap, I just dreamt of. I was dreaming of me going into houses. I was dreaming that I was into houses. I was into properties. I was just entering houses. The dream did not. It wasn't clear. Then from there, I had so many things that I also had encountered in that dream. So I woke up from that dream and I opened my, Facebook page. I was tired. I was actually opening my Facebook. I was playing with it. Then my Uber app as well. You open the Uber app, then you click on go online. So I was about to go online. Something just took me back to say go back to Facebook. As I as I opened up my Facebook and I saw this guy just talking, exactly what I do now. All right. I saw this guy just saying, "Oh, you can invest in properties. You don't need education. You don't need this. You don't need that. I will mentor you. Da, da, da. I'm hosting a networking event this evening. Come, relax. Come, let's." So I paid £70. It was the last £70 I had on my Vanquish credit card. My Vanquish credit card was £150 limit, so it was the last £70 that I had. So I took that 70 card. Let me fix some slangs.
Yeah.
So I had only 70 card left. So inside my 70 card that was left, I just registered for the event. Obviously, it was painful because I didn't even know how I'm going to buy petrol for my car the next day. Because normally Uber pays us on a Friday.
Yeah.
So this happened like before Friday. So I just said, you know what, I have to wait till Friday anyway to just find a way around. So anyway, cut long story short, I paid for the event. That was the first time I went to a room. They were talking about different creative strategies on how you can get started in property. So for me, I always thought that you needed to go to school, you get a degree. In Nigeria we honor degree a lot.
Yeah.
So it's like when 1,001 people have asked me, "Oh, you're a real estate expert. What did you study in real estate?" And they expect me to say, I have MBA, I have masters in real estate, and I'm this successful. I'm like, no, I had my first degree is in sociology and anthropology. In fact, I cannot even remember what I studied.
School, yeah.
Let's be honest, I cannot remember what I studied in university, but I know I graduated from sociology and anthropology. It's almost 20 years or over 20 years now.
Yeah.
So, and I was like, oh, so you can do this in real estate. So the guy who said, oh, you can start with no money. They were just talking about different UK property strategies. One of them stood out. Although the things did not make sense because I was still in my proper depressed mindset. I didn't have a lot of, for a very long time I always say this in Nigeria, in England, you have two types of people living in England. You have people living in Nigeria, in England. You have people living in England, inside England. So when I say you live in Nigeria, inside England, so you don't have white friends, you don't have black, you don't have white friends, you have Asian friends. It's just strictly your local Nigerians, your locals that you're comfortable around them, you eat the food, you drink the drink, you enjoy weekend is faji. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Weekend is for enjoyment. You go to work or you do whatever you are doing, you're looking forward to the weekend to just enjoy life. Does that make sense? After church, it's for enjoyment. So, and which is not bad. There's nothing wrong in it. But, so I went to this event. This guy was saying these things. First of all, nothing made sense. I say, man, this thing, does it work? This kind of thing. Okay, even if you work. Now let me be the black man waiting inside this room. Did you see? I'm already talking myself down. How? For foreign country, who go give me house to manage? So I had all these limiting beliefs just kicking in. So I remember I left Sunday. I went to church. I called my friend. I was driving. Me and him. I was going to go and drop him off. And I said, bro, man, I go this one seminar. I pay 70 card. Just go there. They talk about property for London, man. But I go learn this thing. Say, but no worry, that thing not they work. They go scam you. Now scam, nothing they work. Guy, forget that thing. This is what way they do. So you like Abi, you won't go lose the money again as you lose your business for Nigeria. Well, guy, forget that thing. I said, well, boys, I know what thing I see and I know what thing I hear, but I go run up. I just stick to my own guns. And I just said, I rebuke you. Inside of me, I was like, I rebuke this guy.
I rebuke you, Satan.
Satan, get out of me. So I rebuked him. I was like, anyway, fine. Because after the £70, I needed to pay £3,500 to the guy to come. I needed to pay about between £3,000 to £4,000. I can't remember now. I needed to pay that money to spend a few days with him, so that he would, not just him, like a group. It's a seminar. So the guy was like, but they said you go pay another money. I said, yes. So it's like, scam, I'm not fair to tell you. So anyway, I said, well, I had already made commitment to the guy. I told them, okay, I'll pay £50. So as I'm working, as an Uber pays every Friday as they work, so I'll separate the money, I keep paying. So cut long story short, that's just how my property journey started. I went to the guy's event, solid event. I learned so much things, but my limiting belief was so much strong. I'm kicking against it. So I get to learn about how you can manage other people's property, the kind of contract to use, where you can find the tenant, where you can find landlords, so many things. So I started managing people's property. So what I will do was that I will find someone. So, there's something that the Rockefellers did way back. So they learned how to control everything and own nothing. Well, not own nothing. They owned it indirectly by putting them into trust. So I learned how to manage other people's property. So I will come to you, Elijah. I will say, Elijah, give me your property. let me help you manage it. So instead of you managing it yourself or estate agent managing it and you're paying them commission, I will do all the work. But what I just need you to do is give me the permission to put 5 people to live in that property. So I will rent it as one single unit. So for example, I'm paying you 1K. So I will not ask you to give me permission to sublet the property. That was what the first thing he taught me. So I'll take your permission, to sublet it to 5 people. Now there are rules and regulation because you cannot just take the property and sublet to 5 people. There are rules, there are regulations, there are compliance that must be met. This is not a lecture. I'm not going to go into all of that. Then obviously there are the right kind of contract that you need to use. The mortgage provider have to be, because in Nigeria, most of the houses that we own here, we buy it cash. Yeah. In England, you only need 25% to buy an investment property. If you're buying your own house, all right, there's first-time buyer scheme, you need 5%. If you have bought your first-time buyer, if you're not using the first-time buyer scheme and you just want to buy it, you need at least minimum of 10%. So if you're buying a house of £100,000, you need £10,000, 10% to buy the house. If you're buying as a first-time buyer under the government scheme, you need 5%. You need only £5,000 to buy the house. When you're buying it as an investment property, you need £25,000, you can need 25%. So like Nigeria, when you're buying a house for £100,000, the £100,000 must come from you. Part of what I actually 100%. Must come from you. I actually spoke about it yesterday on when I was interviewed on Arise TV. So the process there is simplified, it's not rigid, it's not bogus, it's very straight to the point. So I had the opportunity of learning exactly how to speak. But when I started speaking to landlords, I now had another problem. The problem was, as at that time in 2016, like I said, by 2015, I was living in Nigeria. 2014, I was living in Nigeria. 2013, I was living. So my accent was very Nigerian.
Okay.
So I had lots of barriers. So when I would mention my name is Daniel, and I go through all, because a lot of people also wonder, why do I have, Oyibo name? Yeah. Yes, my father's name is Moses. Does that make sense? My father's name is Moses. My name is Daniel. But when I would start speaking, the Nigeria,
it will be coming out strong.
The Benin accent will come out. So there's this there's distrust. The Benin accent was there. The Nigerian accent was there. Like I said, I did not go to school in England. Does that make sense? Now that so 8 years of transformation gave me this accent that I now have. Although it's still not the greatest, but I had to now eventually pay someone who taught me how to pronounce things correctly.
Really?
Yes, I had to get a speech coach to teach me how to pronounce things. Nigerian face now. If you just say, but guy live like that, I don't pronounce it. So we're just we see the unnormal and we make it normal.
Yeah.
We see the unreal and we make it real. Does that make sense? We're not that kind of people that we don't dwell in things. We just move on. That's why we are one of the 10th most happiest nation on the planet, regardless of our sufferings right now. Everybody's smiling. You still see somebody that is playing ashake and dancing, regardless of his position. You even see madman on the street bubbling.
Yeah,
that's Nigerian for you. We just get along.
But a friend of mine called me recently. She just asked me. She was like, Elijah, how is real estate an investment? She was a bit confused because this was her confusion. She was like, why would I buy a property for 100 million and be renting it out for 5 million naira per year?
Yes.
And you're telling me that's an investment. And it's going to take me almost 20 years to make back that
money,
100 million that I put into it. So, for people that are watching this and are trying to understand the whole idea of real estate as an asset class, how do you explain it to people?
Yes, real estate is investment. That is 100% for sure. Yes, it's capital intensive. In the West, it's not that capital intensive versus the African continent. In Africa, it is capital intensive. The ROI is not really there, let's be honest. If you're buying a house for 100 million naira in Apo, you bought a house 100 million naira, your tenants are going to pay you how much? 3 million a year.
Around sometimes 5, 10.
Okay, let's just say 10 million naira. Well, if you then look at it, let's use 10 million, right? That you bought a house for 100 million, that is 10% return on your investment per annum, right? So you've bought a house, 100,000, you get 10 million naira back every single year. That's good return. Because if you had 100,000 pounds, 100,000 naira saved.
100 millionaire.
So,
Just use your pounds.
okay, let me use my pounds. So if you get your 100,000 pounds in the bank, it's doing you nothing. The bank is not going to give you 10,000 pounds on your money. Yes, the bank will make a lot of money from it, but you're making 10,000 pounds at the end of the month. So at the end of the year, that's not bad. And regardless of that, a lot of landlords in Nigeria has zero tax to pay. Let's be very frank about it. I love to be frank. Any landlord does not pay tax to any government in Nigeria. No matter how big your portfolio is, it's not really trackable. The only people that pay tax are big businesses. Does that make sense? It's Nigeria.
Yeah.
So that's one part. Yes, if you then look at it like that and say, okay, I invested 100,000 pounds, I'm getting 30,000 pounds at the end of the year. That is great. It's good return on investment. But the problem is the reason why that individual asks you that question, so I invested 100 million naira or 100,000 pounds, I'm only getting 10K. It's because of the microwave mentality. You know, businesses in Nigeria, I'm very sorry to say I'm Nigerian. It took me a lot to learn so many things. Businesses in Nigeria don't actually go through the growth phases most times. Yeah. Either you start and you grow and you stay in growth, you're stagnated. Or you start and all of a sudden you explode. Right? And that's Nigeria for you. So either you start a business, your business will be stagnant, and you're just there living from hand to mouth on the business, or you start a business, tomorrow you just see the guy, they'll say the guy don't blow, don't hammer.
Yeah, we blow here.
In a year. Yeah. In Nigeria, we blow. We don't grow. We explode. There are 3 phases of business. Actually, there are 4 phases of business. First, you start. Then you grow. All right? Once you grow, then you scale. Once you scale, then you thrive. So there are those 4 stages. You know, I'm not talking about corporates here. I'm talking about entrepreneurs yeah. Or startups that are going somewhere. So in this particular situation, this particular person says, I'm not making money. You give me 100,000 pounds. It's not an investment. No, real estate is not instantly. So in 10 years, if you're making 10% on your return, that basically means that you would have recuperated your funds in 10 years. 10K every year times 10. That's 100K. Let's just say gross net. You had a 10% expense or you had 20% expenses. That's still 80% return on your investment in 10 years. But how many Nigerians have that patience? Let's be very frank about this. Let's be frank about this conversation. Yeah. How many Nigerians are patient enough to earn a return on investment in 10 years? How many? Question to you.
I mean, I would say a large percentage of us don't think.
They don't think that way.
I don't think a large percentage of Nigerians are very financial or investment smart. That's why, we fall a lot for all these MMMs and we fall
exactly
a lot for all
because we want instant. We want it today. Yeah. Put on for microwave, bake them. No, I don't chop them.
So you think it's a mindset thing?
It's the entrepreneurial circle in Nigeria needs a whole brain remap. One, rewiring. We need to rewire our brain. I'm Nigerian. When I changed my paradigm shifted, everything about me changed. So like I said, you remember I said I was just selling things, doing this one, doing that one.
You were basically hustling.
I was just hustling. And there's difference between hustling and actually owning the business. Why do you think international corporates will come? Their business will really, there's sustainability, there is accountability, there are phases of growth. So the person that bought the house for 100,000 pounds, he or she is not thinking that in 10 years, my return on investment can be 80% because I would have recuperated, 80,000, 80 million naira or 80,000 pounds of my money back. Now, there is no opportunity for leverage. If there's opportunity for leverage, then you can actually accelerate the growth. So what do I mean by that? Imagine you bought a house for the 100 million, you're making 10,000 pounds a year, and you know that the 100 million naira is tied down in an asset. What if the bank could have actually allowed you to re-leverage those funds? So what does that mean? Giving you a secured loan on the asset. Then you now go again to use that money to buy another property. But it is impossible because, first of all, the central bank interest rate is over 25%. So even if they try to borrow money of 25% on 100 million naira, that is almost how much?
25% on 100 million, that's 25 million.
Exactly. So just look at that alone. So they cannot even be in that entrepreneurial mindset as a property investor because the banks, there's no bank that's going to lend to them. Now, let's not even go into that. Let's look at 2 levels deep. Do they have the perfect document? CFO. How much does it take to have CFO? Only recently I was researching into my state where I'm from, Edo State. Our governor kind of slashed cost of CFO to I think if I'm right, less than 300,000 naira. Does that make sense? But then again, it takes almost 4 years sometimes for you to get your CFO. I don't know the system now, by the way.
All right.
I don't know how long it takes to perfect those documents. And most banks will not lend to you because you don't have the actual paperwork. Now, let's go another 1 level deep. Your account officer will tell you that, okay, once we organize the loan for you, you go give me something outside of the 25%, you go give your account officer another something for him to arrange himself. Then you have not paid a cost of perfection. Do you understand? All these different barriers that are there. So how can you thrive as a real estate entrepreneur in Nigeria? It's impossible. So the real estate entrepreneurs, to be honest, there is no really real estate entrepreneur in Nigeria. People only buy real estate to stock money. People own
value.
To stock money, just stock it. Whether you being someone that just made money somewhere, you decide to just dump it in an asset. So the mindset is not in that, okay, how do I make this asset and the currency invested in this real estate to flow? Money is useless until it's put to use. It's a piece of paper until it's put to use. And that is the reason why that person would think like that. Unlike England. So let me reverse this now to England. As I mentioned before, if you need to buy a house, if I need to buy a house for £100,000 for investment purposes, as a British resident or as a British national, all I needed is 25%. So £25,000, I have now bought the house. Currently, do you know how much is bank base rate in England? The base rate in England is less than 6%. So which means that regardless, I'm paying less than 6% on £100,000 for, let's say, a yearly basis. And that is split into a minimal figure. So let's say 6% of let me use a round figure. 5% of £100,000. How much is that?
5% of £100,000. That's £5,000.
£5,000. So now £5,000 divide by 12.
Divided by 12.
So you can
likely getting about.
You're paying next to nothing on your mortgage.
300, 400.
So you're paying £300 on your mortgage every single month. So these are just basic. My math is terrible, by the way, but I know my numbers. So £300 on the £100,000 that you borrow, and who pays that? So the tenant is. So imagine now you're paying 5% on the mortgage per year, £300 per month. You're renting that property out for £1,000. So the tenant pays you £1,000.
So you're basically making £700.
So you're making gross net profit of £700 on the money you borrowed from the bank. This is one of the reasons why I'm so passionate about OPM, other people's money.
So let me come in here. Someone tells you, I want to. I don't know if this is free consulting, but I'm sure you can tell us to the best you can. I want to invest in the UK property market. Where can I begin? First,
you need education. All right? So whether directly or indirectly, when I mean education, you need to find an expert to educate you about the market a little bit. Because if you don't understand what I've just said, and I've had several conversations like this. So when I go into comparing both markets, most times, even property developers that has massive, schemes in Nigeria, they say to me, oh, how does that work? How does that work? How does that work? So first, you need to educate them that this is how the UK market works. Well, you can't give all the information all at once. You can't give all the information all at once. But you have to kind of have an idea the real truth about how real estate market can make you money. So the first thing is employing a consultant like myself. All right. I charge a lot of money with it. I'm not cheap. All right. So I have to say that because most times a lot of Nigerians will reach out to me and say, and I need this information. Yeah, I'm going to give the information. I'll give you an initial free consultation. But if you're now going to move from that level, then...
So give us a free consultation right now.
I am doing that right now.
Okay.
So, and that's the beginning point. So the beginning point is for me to kind of educate you on the multiple markets that are available.
What are the markets available?
So the markets that are available, depending on how we want to look at it. When I say the market, or exits that are available. So let me use the word exit rather than the market. So exits are different types of your tenant profiles. So there's commercial real estate, there's residential real estate. Let's focus on residential real estate. You have the family let. So me and you will be brothers. You come marry, we stay together. 3 of us in one house. You are the one that pays the rent, or you and your wife are the one paying the rent. That kind of, tenants, family let. Or you just married. You and your wife, you just got married and you guys are expecting kids. That's number one residential market. So family let. The next is house of multiple occupation. I spoke to you earlier that I took this property from this landlord, all right, and I took it instead of giving it to you to rent for you and your wife to stay. And I said, okay, there's an opportunity for me to create 5 rooms out of this property because it had 3 rooms, it had 2 double reception rooms, and I can just put a bed in there and call them bedrooms. And I can put 5 people there. So that's called house of multiple occupation. Well, house of multiple occupation in Nigeria will be called Face Me, I Face You.
Okay.
Do you know Face Me, I Face You?
Yeah.
Okay.
That's what you spoke about, house of multiple occupation.
Yes. Because you just build a box. And when you build that box, right, there's room 1, room 2, room 3, room 4, room 5, room 6, room 7. And at the back of the property, there is toilet. Some will be pit toilet. Some will be maybe flushing toilet.
In
Nigeria, especially in the ghettos, right? So you have toilet at the back, you have bathroom at the back. And then you have one big place that they put zinc and everybody's cooking at the back there. Then one level up, you now also have like hostels. I'm sure I went to Uniben. What school did you go to?
I went to Covenant University.
Okay. So you stayed in hostel, right?
Yeah.
So you now have a room that probably in the hostel will have its own toilet in the room, Ajabota now, and then you now have your own space where you can cook as well. So that's another level up. So that's house of multiple occupation. Everybody living and sharing common amenities. Then the next level up is providing home for sick people. All right, which can come under care or supported living, or providing homes for old people. So my mom, for example, now she's 87. God bless her. She's still very strong. She can still cook for herself and everything. And the 87-years-old woman in London, in fact, when you don't pass 70, the chances of you still being at home is very slim. Because most time you start to, you don't skip small. And when you don't skip like that, your children will normally, because everybody works, they will send you to a care home. So that the care providers can look after you properly. Does that make sense? So you have care home, you have supported living. Then the next kind of tenants is government tenants. So there are people who are homeless. There are people who don't have the right type of job that government basically give them houses and pay their rent 100%. And there are also people who government will pay 50% of their rent. So now you're renting your property to Apo Council. Do you understand? How many councils do you have in Abuja?
Local governments?
Yeah, local governments.
We have 5.
Okay.
No, 6 actually. 6.
So imagine the 5 local governments are renting from you. They're paying you that market rate or slightly below the market. Or if you have better amenities in your property, the local council can now become your tenant so that you can they can give those properties to those people that they're looking after. All right? And then you have the most popular one, and everybody just call me. I get this all the time through my Instagram DM. I'm coming to London. I'm going to do Airbnb. I'm coming to London. I'm going to do, short stay let.
So there are many options. We just think there's only Airbnb.
So there's so many options. And these are just a few. So many exits. Your tenant, this exit means, when you develop the house, how are you exiting? Is it just that you want to buy, you want to build them and just sell it to people and that's you done? or you want to buy them, you want to build them, and then you might want to sell some, and you want to now distribute. These are all different choices. So that's why real estate in the United Kingdom or the Western countries are or Western nations.
What mistakes do you see a lot of Nigerian real estate investors who are thinking of going to the UK market make?
Good question. I think a lot of problem Nigerians have is I too know. Somebody will come from Nigeria and say, oh, I've been in property development in the UK, in Nigeria. I have built big schemes, so I know it all. And then you come to London, and you come with that same mindset. All right? There are two different types of mindset here, and there's two different people I'm speaking to at the same time. The most common people I speak to are developers that have small schemes. First, for example, maybe you own the whole of Prince and Princess in Abuja. You've developed that process, you've built it, you've sold it, and you sold to end user.
Yeah.
And you want to bring that mentality to London.
Doesn't work like that over there.
It's going to work, but it's going to take you 5 years, 10 years. Does that make sense? But it's not going to work because there's not a lot of land in London. It might work in America, but in London, it's not going to work. You know, because there's not a lot of land. And the process of getting planning permission. So there's two things. You need planning permission in order to develop a land. A land is completely useless in London. In England, it's useless until you have planning approval that this is the type of property that they allow you to build. Now, because they've allowed you to build doesn't mean you can build it. You now need to apply for consent to build. So you need two things. Land, you need planning and you need consent to build. When you also have commercial buildings, you need permission to convert that commercial building to a residential building, and also you need consent to build it. So these processes can take at least a minimum of 12 months to 18 to 24 months. So if you have that microwave mentality and you're a property developer that just built one small scheme in 1-2 years and you want to make quick money, do you already see where the setback has already started?
Yeah, just getting the approvals alone take you a lot of time.
Because London is not a fast, I'm a developer. Let me speak about where I am from. London property real estate market is not fast-paced. Nigeria is fast-paced. America could be. Dubai could be.
Yeah.
But London is there's so much red tapes. And they have to do it correctly. Let me give an example. In 2022, December 28th, one of my properties, a room in one of my properties got burnt. Burnt to ashes. I was so lucky that one of my tenants was at home. He was at home, it got burnt. So the guy left electric heater and went to work. And then his room burnt to ashes. The fire brigade came. The whole thing was, we were able to de-escalate the whole situation, so it did not escalate. So the whole room got burnt out. Now, first I had insurance policy this time. I had insurance policy. So because I had insurance policy, I didn't have any loss. Now, fire brigade came, sorted out the fire. But guess what then happened after the fire?
What?
Investigation. What was the cause of the fire? How compliant is that property? Where are your licenses to put in 6 people in this house? What is your fire alarms like? When last did you test it? So a whole lot of, because in England, it's not just, I jammed your car. Waiting happen when you make that motor, when you jam another person's motor. Do you understand? So, and these are all things that we look into when doing business. And that's why the economy down there is attractive. That's why if you do it long enough, give yourself a minimum of 5 to 10 years, you'll be more successful than you are in Nigeria.
Really?
Yes.
So what's your advice to anyone, or what's the advantage for any Nigerian right now to look into the property market in the UK?
The advantage at the moment is if you live in Nigeria right now and you're really passionate about being wealthy, you need to learn to build a foreign exchange backbone or base. You have to have foreign exchange. Not just Nigeria, to be honest. I am now also thinking that actually, in the last 2 years, out of the last 8 years, I've been Nigerian twice. So ideally, maybe when I'm coming in, I don't want to bring pounds. Let me just have some naira here. So maybe I might find a way to kind of maybe collaborate so I can have some naira. I don't have to, I keep my pounds, and I just come spend my naira. So same mentality. You know, if you're here, you want to find how you can collaborate with maybe developers in London, maybe entrepreneurs in London. Obviously, the good thing about collaboration in the West, they have laws, they have rules, they have regulations. They have a legal system that is very, very compliant. You cannot manipulate the legal system.
Yeah.
You know, I'm sorry to say, I'm not talking my own country down, but we have work to do.
Yeah, we have work to do, yeah.
Do you understand? If I borrow you £10,000 now for Nigeria, if you slap me on top of my 10K, but for London, it cannot happen. There is law, there is order. Do you understand what I'm saying? So the fact is that, you know, you need to think outside of the box to earn in foreign currency and also export that foreign currency back home if you want to.
Yeah, I mean, just the whole idea is that we have some dependencies, international dependencies, that you want to have international currency-based earnings.
If you're serious about being an entrepreneur, there's two things you must do. You must do everything possible right now to have multiple nationality. That's one. Two, Forex. You must do anything within your power to collaborate internationally with companies, organizations that have integrity and collaborate. These are the two things. There are two things successful people, go and check the history of Bill Gates and all these wealthy people, Elon Musk. Two things, listen, they have multiple passports.
Okay, so let me ask a question. I mean, still around real estate, right? Someone told me, or a friend of mine actually, she was asking, why do I need to invest in property? There was an advice around the fact that why do I need to invest in property? It's meant for people in their 40s or 50s when they're trying to settle down. Don't get tied to an old location, to a location when your life could be mobile. I mean, you are currently in the UK. Imagine if you had a property in Nigeria, you wouldn't have been out there, you know.
You know, I don't mean to be rude, but sometimes you just have to call a spade a spade.
Right.
All right. You know, I grew up in Benin. I was raised by my mother, and the first thing my mother my mother would say to my brothers, you know, and other people in our family those days, you know, you have to come and build a house. And I was recently watching, there's this famous guy on YouTube in Nigeria, and he showed the Igbo land how they will build these gigantic mansions,
yeah.
And they only live there once a year.
Yeah.
Would you call that real estate investing or wastage?
That's wastage. I'll call it wastage.
So you go to this village, there's no road, there's no access there. All of a sudden you come into this small village, and all of a sudden you have a big gigantic that people live in once a year. Is it that funds that could be used as an entrepreneur to redevelop? Obviously in Nigeria, it's like the biggest of how big your house is, that's your statement.
Yeah.
The biggest car that you drive makes your statement. Does that make sense? So, yes, that's not real estate investment. That is you owning a house. And there is wastage, and that's not property investing. Because the house in your village, even if you use it to loan money and the bank will never loan money against it.
At all.
But when we talk about real estate, I live in a 2.5 million house in London. My house that I live in is worth 2.5 million. I don't own where I live. I rent where I live. But I have a multi-million pound asset worth millions. Because if I was to buy the house that I live in worth 2.5 million, do you know that I need 10%? And 10% is what? 250K. So if I put 250 in an asset and it's sitting down there in our house, I am trying to grow, I'm trying to scale, and I'm trying to thrive. Remember the 4 stages. I'm not starting now. So let's move one level up. So I'm growing, I'm scaling, or I'm scaling and I'm trying to invest £250,000 to buy a house to live in. Let's now Question, do you think that is smart?
No, I really don't think that's
What
smart.
if I can take £250,000 and acquire multiple properties? Obviously, I teach this.
I mean, you could as well break down that 250K to 50K, 5 places, and get 5 different.
And if 5 of them are not giving you £1,000 a month,
That's £5,000 a month.
in England, over the last 1,000 years, statistics have shown us that assets doubles in value every 10 to 15, 20 years. The worst case is there will always be a recession in between 20 years or 30. But obviously, there will always be a comeback. So
It's a cycle.
if you just have to understand, wealth cycle, and you have to kind of have an idea of what wealth dynamics is.
Okay.
And once you understand these things, you kind of understand this. Listen, yes, for me, my goal is to build £100 million property portfolio, personal net worth, through collaborations and partnerships. Now, once I get to 100 million, or maybe before getting to 100 million, somebody said, actually, you're trying to be 100 million, when will you then leave? That was another question someone asked me. So let's just say I own assets that are worth 10 million today.
Pounds, yeah.
10 million pounds cash. Right? If I own 10 million property portfolio that's 10 million cash today, the worst that can happen is I can go to the bank and say, actually, bank, can I have £2 million in here and go and buy where I live cash? Because I own those properties. So the bank can give me a loan, 2 million or 2.5, and I can buy where I live, cash. Then what then happens to the rental income? The rental income can service the debt of 2.5 million. That's one fact. Okay, now, my property portfolio worth 10 million. All right? My debt on it is, let's just say 75%. So which means I have 2.5 million equity. The only time I will have access to that equity is to sell. But let's say in 10 years' time, when I'm 54, that property has doubled in value according to the statistics I've just given to you. Yeah. Let's just say it's worth 20 million. In 10 years, I can wait for 10 years to buy where I live and draw those funds and buy where I live cash and never have to pay mortgage. But in the meantime, who is going to service that? See, real wealth is not created by the money you make. Real wealth is created using other people's money.
But people will say using other people's money is a very risky game.
Well, you have to understand good debt and bad debt. And you have to be a master at your game in leveraging. I am someone over the last 4 years now, I've raised over 1.5 million pounds on social media, Instagram, LinkedIn, Facebook. As of today, I owe people just less than 10% of that money.
Really?
So, because real estate is about timing. So, a house I bought in 2000, I bought a house in the year 2000 during COVID. I borrowed the money. It wasn't my money. I borrowed it. I borrowed the money, bought the house, £450,000. I needed £250,000. So I needed £225,000 on the refurb. All right? I bought multiple houses, but this particular house is one of my favorite ones. 9 months later, that house was worth £950,000.
From how much?
From spending less than £675,000. It's worth £950,000. Now, a couple of months later, it appreciated. That house is now worth about 1.1 million. So, if I need to release the funds within a period of 4 years, if I need to releverage that funds, what do? It's a loan. I go back to the bank reevaluates the property and say, okay, you've got extra money there. Okay, let's give you 100K. So, first of all, real estate, you have to understand how real estate works. It's just like running a hotel. You have to understand how to run a hotel. Same way. But the thing is, a lot of people get into property, don't actually understand the business. It's like artists. You see like Davido being very successful in music. He understands business. He understands music business. You see other artists that they sing, they don't understand music business. You see athletes, all right, that are sport people, and they just run. But you understand there are also athletes that understand sport business.
Yeah. So they added to what they had.
Yeah, absolutely. So a lot of people who invest in real estate needs to understand real estate business. Not I am buying a property. Or make I just buy one there for London. And when I did go London, I go so that make I get where I did stay. We need to become the reason why we're rich and yet we're so poor in Nigeria is because of our mindset. Because we do certain things that are just, sometimes it makes me sick. You not find somebody say, I not get money, but you have one house in London that you locked up that don't make you any money.
Dead assets.
Dead assets. Yes, dead assets, not dead assets at the same time. Dead asset because it's not producing cash flow. It's leaking money from your pocket because once in a while you need to repair, you need to do maintenance. Yeah. Meanwhile, you could have actually invested. All right, and then you're recycling funds.
I see what you mean. I think it's a Nigerian thing that I'm speaking for Nigeria, we have prioritized so much. It's almost like we want liberty from servicing anybody with our money.
Yes.
So that's why we go for buying a property instead of renting a property and then investing in other properties.
Yeah. You have to think, like I said, you have to become someone that needs to understand, am I investing into real estate or I just want to buy a house? There's the house buyer, there's the real estate buyer. The real estate buyer thinks about how can I monetize? How can I generate cash flow? The house buyer is, how can I buy some house? I'll just buy two. Me and my wife go live for one. Once in a while, I've used that one as guest house. Once in a while, just put somebody there. Because we don't understand the metrics.
Fair enough.
And that's why you see people keep stealing. Because people don't understand how to make money grow. Let's cut the chase and be very serious about this. People don't understand how to make money really grow.
How do you make money grow?
You make money grow by reproducing money, by recycling money. Like I said, currency flows. The word current, it flows. When you look at Babbage or look at all these waterways, what happens? It flows. So until we'll understand that, when you store money, like I said at the beginning of the conversation, money is just a piece of paper. It only becomes, a wealth creation tool when it's put to use. If you put money and lock money in this room, come back 5 years later, it will all be rotten.
True. Fair enough.
So why should you store money? Why should you be an entrepreneur and have 100 billion naira account balance?
Well, that's an interesting question.
It needs to flow. It needs using. It needs to be used. And that's why you see people spray money. There's so many that has robbed us. I'll see people spray money. I say, why did you not send bank account transfer to this person? So that at least the person will know you gave him that money. But your spray money, some of the money will be ripped out, will be torn, will match it. We need a whole reorientation in Nigeria. We're the greatest nation, giant of Africa. Are we really now giants?
So, looking beyond real estate, right? As you're building towards your £100 million goal, how have you seen Nigeria playing a role in that?
I think for me, part of the reason why I became an author was thanks to my mentors. My mentors said to me, the only way you can grow to the highest of the levels you want to get to in anything in life is to learn to become a person of value. Now, how do you distribute value? Right now, to some people that will watch this, there will be positive feedbacks. So some people that watch this, Nigerians say, I ain't waiting to say no. So you're going to have two type of trolls, positive and negative.
Yeah, fair enough.
Does that make sense? Same thing, you're going to have people read the book. They're going to be like, have you ever wondered why a lot of people read so many books and yet they don't do anything with it? So for me, right now, I distribute content, I write books, and that has allowed me to connect with people. Last year, I was invited to keynote in about 3 events in Lagos.
Nice.
And that's because I've been seen, I've been heard, my thought process have been put in a book, Some people believe the thought process, and some people don't. So the ones that believe in the thought process, they invited me to distribute the content, which I did. So that allows me to connect with people, because people buy from people they like and they trust.
Fair enough, yeah.
Some people will listen to this podcast and say, you know what, this is the guy I want to work with. And some people will listen to this podcast and say, you know what,
I mean, they're entitled to their.
Do you understand? So for me, like I said, I'm someone that I had nothing. I built up, from level 0. I lost everything. I've had that massive channel roller coaster, and God has stabilized me over the last, since 2017. God has stabilized me. In America, a lot of American people will not do business with you except you're failed a lot of times.
Except you.
A lot of people in America, a lot of successful entrepreneurs will not do business with you except you failed before and before. Because they know if you failed and you had comebacks, that means you've learned. Because failure, when you fail, you've not failed actually. You've actually learned. Like I said, when you ask God for greatness, God will first of all take you through that test. And once he takes you through that test, then at the end of it comes a testimonial. Look at Moses in the Bible. So for me, those who are looking at, how do we move forward? How do we, channel our resources? How do we become the greatest version of ourselves? So we just need to be aware that, our problems is in our growth. Our growth is in our problems. And we need to learn to live with it. We need to learn to go with it. With that, we become the outstanding entrepreneur, which that allows you to collaborate and connect with people. People I did not know gave me 100,000, 200, 300, 50 to build my property portfolio. So right now, we are now in a place where we're raising our next, £3 million in a couple of months. So how does that help me? It helped me because people can first listen to my thought process. Then people can see, whether, he resonates with me, because people will only buy from who they like and they trust. So in this way, the era that we are now, the easiest way to distribute for people to understand your thought process is by
creating content.
Not just creating content. You have to have the knowledge. You have to have the experience. And you have to have the case studies.
Fair enough.
So with that,
proven something.
You have to have a proven case studies. And with that, people will naturally just buy into you. So that's how we're going to get to a £100 million property portfolio.
Interesting. So people watching this who want to keep track with you, how can they best follow your work? And what do you currently have going on that they can be part of?
Well, I would be giving you guys a link to my book. It's called The Test, Transition from the Ordinary to the Extraordinary. So for everyone who will listen to this, I'll give you guys a link. They can go and download my book completely for free. It's sold on Amazon for £20, which is about 40,000 naira. So that's completely free. Now, automatically, once you do that, you're giving us permission to have access to your email address. So that means that you will theoretically be aware of every single thing that I do in London. So whether you're looking to buy properties, but I always say don't buy properties, invest. So whether you're looking to rent, I have an entity called Property Wealth Corporation. Now, Property Wealth Corporation, what we do is we have several subsidiaries, from managing properties to developing properties to managing refurbs, and as well as consulting, and as well as running an educational outlet. Which is one of our biggest arm of the business, because that's what actually launched me out. So I have a school for real estate where I educate people specifically at the moment for UK property market, and with my partners. So we go from the lowest entry point, the lowest barrier to entry point, to the highest barrier to entry. Some of them I teach, some of them my business partners. One of my partners owns over 400 properties in England. Wow. And worth multi-million as well. So yes, he teaches the property development side, and I teach the other, because I don't own 400 houses yet. He does, and those houses generate so much money. He owns an auction house, so we partner together. So we basically go all angle covered. So we teach from mindset to understanding how to really use that mindset to make money in real estate. So when you do connect with me and you download that, you're in my system. That allows you to keep up to date with every single thing that I do. And on the back of that, Google my name on social media. Google my name, you get all the access to my social media. Or simply type in on Instagram, Dr. Daniel Moses, and you find me. So I'm very easy to find.
All right. Thank you so much, Dr. Daniel Moses. So I'll be giving 5 quick fire questions.
Okay.
So you're just hitting it. Like, so 1 word, 2 or 3 words, quick answers.
Wow.
What comes to your mind when you hear the word property?
What comes to my mind is wealth.
Wealth. What comes to your mind when you hear the word recession?
What comes to my mind when the word recession hits me is opportunity, opportunity, opportunity.
What comes to your mind when you hear the word cost of living crisis?
You did not do your homework. You are not earning, and you need to learn to earn. Don't work to live. Live to work. Because if you're living to work, the cost of living crisis should be a problem. God giving us this thing. Entrepreneurship for me was never about money. It's all about here in your mouth. Speak, learn, have skills, and the cost of living crisis can hit you.
Can hit you. What comes to your mind when you hear the word Nigeria?
Ooh, I'm a Nigerian. I love my country so much. I love Nigeria. But I think Nigeria, when it comes to Nigeria,
We have work to do.
we have so much work. We need to be the giant of Africa that we've stated that we are. And what comes to Nigeria, what comes to my mind is that if Nigeria fixes itself, the entire black race in the world will fix itself. If Nigeria works, Africa will be the new West.
What comes to your mind when you hear? This one is a bit. How will I put it now? But anyways, let me not go this. Let me not go. What comes to your mind when you hear the word technology?
When you hear the word technology, you hear simplification.
I love that. And how are you currently implementing technology into the work you do?
AIs.
AI. Really?
Yes.
All right. Thank you so much, Dr. Daniel Moses. It's really impressive to have you over here. I mean, we could have gone for 3 hours, I know, but you have to catch your flight.
Yes.
So thank you so much for making it here. And I'm so glad that we are the first podcast in Nigeria to have you on. And I look forward to hearing more about your journey. I think you have an event coming up.
Yes. Absolutely. I do have an event coming up next week. I am actually in collaboration with one of my business partners, and together we're hosting the former president of Mauritius in London, in Dorchester. So if you're in London, if this podcast is out before then, make sure you come join us. The ticket starts from £500. It's in the evening from 5:30 in the evening all the way to 10 p.m. You have opportunity to network. Your circle will determine where you're going in life.
Yeah.
So your network is your net worth. So yeah, come join us at Dorchester Hotel, 3-course meal, opportunity to network. Sit down with a former president and learn how they run a country. And take that knowledge and run your business.
All right. Thank you so much, Dr. Daniel Moses.
Thank you for having me.